Welcome. Yeah. Welcome to this session. As you can see, we just switched seats and they are just women. And on the last session, we had just men, so we took over. As every year, this is the third year in a row that we have this She Health session here for you. And this year are many men here in the audience, and thank you for coming, because I think you need some women within your companies who work for you and who are experts in this field of digital health. So this is today's topic, innovation drivers, She Health, digital health goes feminine. And here you can see our experts. And we switched one expert, that's King Eung Choi, and now we have Sevilla from PricewaterhouseCoopers here on the audience. Thank you for being so fast and just coming to the audience and coming here in front of this and talk with us about this important topic. Yeah, She Health is a new format. And we are not the only ones in Germany. Next slide, please. And we talked 3 years ago about this issue. Next slide. Okay, thank you. And we just talked 3 years ago and 2 years ago about physicians. And if you look at this if you look at this analysis from the Deutsche Ärzteblatt 2017, you can see that the annual income is 40% less than the income from men in the medical field. So right now at Charité in Berlin, that's where I am a professor, we have 70% females who begin to study human medicine, and out of these 70% are just 45% working out of 100% doctors in Germany, and we have just 10% women leadership in Germany right now. And these are analysis from 2017 and not from 1817. So the other aspect we like to mention is the female speakerinnen, and I did this analysis on who's talking, and we have some we have made some analysis on this topic, and you can see that there are much more males who talk, and if they talk much longer than females. So what can we do? We can do some something for women. And HIMSS is doing a large program on this issue. And here within this program, it says that women felt discriminated because of their gender. In case of lower chance of promotion, lower salary, and in unequal workplace treatment. So in this session, we will talk about some questions. Do we need special products? Do we need platforms for women in tech? And how can we support women leadership, become more visible? And do we need quotas or equal pay restrictions, especially in digital health? And how can we handle diversity? Do we need other designs for women? And what about artificial intelligence, machine learning, and precision medicine? Do we need a gender-specific scientific approach here? So first of all, I'd like to introduce to you Angela Velkova. She's a senior communities manager at HIMSS Europe. and she will explain to us what HIMSS means. And she is a Director of Communities and Strategic Relations. And she previously served as Communities Manager and Business Development Coordinator for HIMSS Nordics. So, please go forth.
Thank you very much, Professor Thun. For everyone who is in the audience, how well you're familiar about HIMSS and what HIMSS does, or in general about our Women in Health IT initiatives? Okay, that's what I thought. So, thank you very much for the organizers for inviting me. I'm here to represent Healthcare Information and Management System Society. It's a not-for-profit membership platform that covers a global reach, that has a membership of over 80,000 individual members, where women are a strong part of our community. We engage nurses, we engage doctors, we engage clinicians, IT professionals, managers in health information systems and technology, and we also engage entrepreneurs and students. So women make a large part of our community, and we have done some surveys to identify how we can better help that women get advanced in their careers, how we can empower women more to innovate and to reimagine healthcare, deliver healthcare in different and more supported ways, as well as get an equal pay for the equal work they do relative to their men colleagues. The first and the most extensive survey that we have done, this is a US-based survey from 2016-2015. We have compared compensation between men and women in the US on annual basis, and we've compared the results between the 9 years, identifying a wage gap that is actually expanding rather than reducing over the years. So the gap widened by 2.7% over the 9 years, which triggered us for another surveys around the service, especially getting out with the initiative outside the US and see what, if anything, is much different in Europe in particular, which is one of the communities that I cover through my work. 2015 survey, this is just a small snapshot of the 2015 results in the US. The top 3 desired resources of those 870 responses are mentorship, networking events, and career guides that women find as helpful to proceed in their careers. What do we do in Europe? Europe is a very particular continent. It's very difficult to really get everyone together, especially when digital health agendas vary across countries. Language and culture and mentality also change as well. So what we are trying in Europe to do with HIMSS is organize communities around regions, around countries, and through those regions engage with women in the local level. What we have done in 2016 is the community was launched. It was a cross-community activity across the different communities that we engage in Europe, and then we've started launching our online activities. I'll speak a bit more about that later. And we also did the survey 2018 this spring that I'm going to present you a bit more about the results. So as you can see, the demographics of those who participated was very varied. So there was professionals from the pharmaceutical sector, there was programmers and developers, there was clinicians, so physicians, nurses, there was C-level from the hospital providers representation, and also from the worksite side, we have had primary care providers, we have vendors, we have consultants, we had different associations that are involved in digital health, and some of the additional demographic details is the years in the industry that the women were engaged in and the compensation per annum. That was also very well represented. So we had a wide area of coverage on what the women at different levels of their careers, how they experience their daily work within their organizations. And one of the key findings is that women's contribution was not recognized, and you'll see by a a large margin, then more than half of the women felt that they were discriminated and that the source of this discrimination was gender-based. And the third finding is that among the most unequal common form of discrimination was the unequal workplace treatment. Put in numbers, 93.33%, and this is 4% uptake from the results we had in 2016, feel that women executives are not being recognized for their contribution to the industry. It's a big and worrisome data that we need to see how, through different programs and through different platforms, especially through our organizations, we can both see how locally to support these recognition through various forms. The gender discrimination at work, do they feel discriminated? 60% said yes. Among what was the most difficult and most present form of discrimination? As I said, lower chance of promotion, lower salary, and unequal work treatment. There was a open-end question to how they cope with this discrimination. They either don't do anything, they accept it as a reality. They either speak to women in HR, so women in HR are being a resource to the company in promoting diversity and support of women. And then the most common actually answer was working more to demonstrate value. And when we talk about burnout among women in the industry, it's not a surprise what we see in the data. So what is the resources they use to further their career? It's what I already mentioned. So it's the conferences, it's also distant learning programs for further education in the field, where also HIMSS is very active. It's networking events, and also, as I said, one-on-one mentorship programs that we already start to implement at HIMSS in different communities is very important. These are the numbers of unique stakeholders that we engage, around 2,700 of which are based in Europe. We are obviously much more present in the US, as I said, from particular reasons. However, it's never too late to get the movement going in Europe as well. We do once a month educational webinars that are specifically designed to support women in different profiles, how to excel in their careers. We have content resources for women in our membership platform, so we do podcast series, blogs. We have a microsite with e-newsletter that goes out every weekend, and this is from yesterday. We launched Women in Health IT Italy. So we had Women in Health IT Europe, but we never really had a dedicated program that was involving women that will help with the mentorship and the education activities locally. So this is from yesterday, from Rome. And another picture also from yesterday is the graduation of our first joint program with the University Cattolica of Rome on management in health information systems. As you can see in the picture, the first class has 50% women, 50% men. It's something that we really make sure that we encourage that more women are also encouraged to study in this field. And this is our CEO handing the certificates. So there's another a platform that we use is the Most Influential Women in Health IT Awards. It's a global program. We really encourage the normal problem that we have with the more general leadership program is that women also tend to nominate men as leaders when it comes to some sort of award program. Therefore, we have the Women in Health IT Leadership Award, where we had 82 nominees from the US and 9 outside the US for this cohort. The recipients will be published in January 2019. These are the selection of the last year's cohort, and these are my details for any further information if you have in the results or next steps, how we bring this to your community as well. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Angela. So now one question, should we launch a Women in Health IT program in Germany as well? And I look to Sevilla. What do you think? Do we need something like this as well? Or is it enough if we have it on a global level?
Hello, my name is Sevilay. I'm the head of business development for health industries at PricewaterhouseCoopers. And I think having something on a national level is really important as well, because especially in IT, you also have regulatory requirements that are boundaries. So having a general understanding of the IT on an international level is important as an umbrella, but having that on a national basis would be absolutely crucial as well.
And we can have nice awards for us. So what do they get from you if they get the award? What does HIMSS provide?
We really want to make sure that we put women in the spotlight. So those are the role models we want other members to look up to and connect with. So there's a lot of opportunities how to engage with HIMSS beyond the award. There's going to be a lot of community-related activities across Europe that we will try to strengthen. And we normally use these women not only as our local ambassadors to our mission and vision, but also them as a resource to promote the cause internationally outside their communities and connect their local communities with other women across Europe and also globally.
My question to Vanessa Lemarie. She's a project lead at Digital Health Bayer. And she says she's a digital health enthusiast, telemedicine advocate, AI explorer, corporate entrepreneur, and a She Health believer. So we have She Health in Germany. What do you think? Do we need a program like this too? And what does the pharmaceutical industry think of it?
Well, I'm not sure whether I'm here to speak for the pharmaceutical industry as a whole, but as a project lead for digital health and specifically for women's health topic, because that's what the WH stands for, yeah, in the title, in case you were wondering. It's also specifically for women's health. I definitely love to have this, and I definitely love to have a resource we can tap into to work with. I mean, we have lots of programs within the companies where we connect to the outside world. Yeah, we're actually partner of HIMSS, yeah, already as a company, but it would be lovely to have a group where we could actually find female experts, yeah, and those who will become it, and actually use it to promote and also to work together, yeah, in third-party partnerships. So I definitely, love to be one of the at least founding members on a private level. I definitely advocate for it inside of the company.
Thank you. So I just went through the halls and I saw a huge insurance company who has a very nice panel discussion today, and they have 23 out of 23 on the stage who are male. And then I told them they should change it. It's better for your insurance company as well, because half of your people are female. And she said to me, there are no female in this field. How can we change this? Thea. Thea Böhm, she's a program manager Venture Connect at Fraunhofer Venture in Munich. It's not venture capital, that's what I learned, it's venture. And perhaps you can tell us a little bit about your venture idea.
Yes. Hi everyone, I'm Thea. Basically, I work for Fraunhofer and I'm part of the Fraunhofer Venture Department, which helps researchers to spin off their technologies. So we help researchers, but also external people to build high-tech startups. And referring to your question, I think, and it also goes in line with the previous answers. I think we need a different way to address women, because what we've seen is 2 weeks ago we organized a female health hackathon, and normally hackathons are 95% male and 5% women. But this time it was very different. It was 75% women that really applied. And I think this shows that we really also need to start addressing women differently so they will apply.
So what was the difference? The food? Vegetarian?
No, I think that you just feel attracted to a topic that is obviously female, and maybe a hackathon is not naturally something women would apply to, but making it female or making it social, this is maybe something that more women are attracted to. So we need to start thinking like, how can we attract women, because it's not like there are no women in this world, it's 50%, but the way we address them is usually some men thinking about how to create a nice event, and they will address probably also the men's sphere, not the women.
I'd love to build on that actually, because from my personal and also professional experience, I find that women, I'm also a team lead, yeah, and I have both men and women in my team. And my general observation is that the women are often more hesitant to actually apply themselves, yeah, to projects and or to go out look for things that are outside of what is organizable, maybe also in terms of private life. So I think communities and chapters and these kind of groups are also in the responsibility, but also there to actually encourage other women to participate and to come. And often that's almost enough, yeah, to get more women to actually encourage them and say, hey, I think you'd be really great at this, and it's going to be fun as well. I'm going to be there, yeah, to also maybe provide a bit of a safe connection. And then, you know, that already provides for more traction than what we have if we don't have these kind of communities. So I think it's absolutely great and a testimony to this approach that, you know, you can show 70% female participation, which is really what you want if you go feminine, is to also have feminine representation, yeah, and the ones coming up with the ventures.
Thank you. In Berlin, we have a very strong female community in tech, and we have breakfasts, and not our meetings are not in the evening or within bars, but we have a lot of many breakfast sessions, and I think this is one way to deal with this point that we still have the responsibility for the kids and have to bring the kids to the kindergarten and all these things. And I have 4 kids, and I'm a professor right now, and I worked 100% full-time all of my life, and it's okay, but the community has to change. Not the women have to change, or even the kids. So this is one, I think, one issue. And talking about the next step, how can we support then women leadership? Not only just have them with us or as a team member or like a team leader or project leader, but like our true leadership. Because in Germany we have a lot of digital health companies and organizations, and they all led by men. There's not one organization that is led by a woman. Or is there somebody here who can tell me something else? Okay. So how can we have a true leadership within this field and make things perhaps a little better in Germany as well?
Yeah, so I'm still pretty young, but like to the extent that I have work experience, I would say that even in this quite short time that I worked so far, I have to say that we need quotas. This is my opinion, because usually being promoted is not based on skill or on working hard or working maybe too hard, but it's usually based on who you get along with better, and if there are many male or if there are many men in leadership positions, that probability is high that only men will be promoted. And you can look at many companies, also at my own company. It's usually like this, that only men get the positions. And I don't think that there are less capable women out there.
to bring in some controversial ideas. To be honest, I'm not a huge fan of quotas because I think if you're really committed to your work, if you're enthusiastic, and if you have the right network and the relationship, and this is one of the elements we as a women are really good in, that could enable you to get to the leadership position you want. I mean, I work for a huge consulting company, and of course it's not easy to get to the top, but I'm here, so I'm there. So it wasn't because of luck or any coincidence, but it was because of working and networking and having the right. But sometimes it's to be there at the right time, and opportunities pop up. But that can also pop up for male as well, not only for females.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take the middle ground here between between the two of you. So, I think I'm not a huge fan of quotas either. We shouldn't need them in the first place. I think we all agree on that. But things are moving slowly, and then I was actually quite surprised, maybe sometimes even in opposite directions, which is really scary. We can talk about that maybe a little bit later. But I think the first part is that both men and women need to play it, and there are enough of them to actually sponsor, mentor, and further women. So it's not only having access to a network, but also working it, that I believe we need to do better in as women, and we need to force men also to play their part. Because one thing is to use maybe feminine strengths, of networking and being empathetic towards others, and also claiming that for ourselves and using that in our interest. But not unimportant is to make sure that you also, I would guess, more or less shamelessly self-promote what you already know and achieve, within a corporation and outside. And that's something that I observe men are just, tend to be a lot better at. And tend to do a lot more. And I think that's something where networks help, but also everyone individually needs to consider, okay, how do I do that better so that I show what I already know, what I've achieved, and that I show I have strategic or financial acumen, that is important for someone else to want for that promotion or for that job, or just also to be recognized in the industry. So that's the one. And the other thing I would love to add is that I think we need to encourage those men who are very, the feminists and the motivators and the sponsors, that much more of that is needed. And there's a great book that I read, and I would recommend to everyone to actually look at. It's called, why and how men should mentor women. So when we talk about mentorships, I think it's really important to look at not only women communities, but also looking and encouraging those men out there, that they need to teach women the ropes of advancing in organizations, which, I mean, that's a fact, at least in the senior positions, still predominantly men. So how do you succeed in there?
So just a summary, because I'm also somewhere in the middle. There needs to be a huge organizational change, and not for the sake of only integrating women in the formula, but also for the sake of adopting technology information in order to transform healthcare. In the driver's seat now for change and for the useful use of the technology are the nurses, are the clinicians. They make the majority of the portion of the workforce currently, and yet they're paid less, according to findings that we now find, and also in addition to the lower prospects for promotion and for advancement in the healthcare, in the career. It doesn't need to be being a chief department or becoming a CMIO or a CIO. I'm talking about healthcare providers now in particular. Just the empowerment that these women that are our professionals that are providing treatment and care for us have a say in how technology is being used, in how is it making it more meaningful, and also be provided with the opportunity to get additional education in the field. So what HIMSS is, for example, doing certification programs for personal and professional development in the field, we come in a generation that, in previous generations, IT was not really popular for women. So these are now women that have to face with both adoption technology and also how they can adjust to the change that can only come if it comes grassroots, if there is a real empowerment both by men and women at the organizational level, then at the community level, that actually technology can support rather than to make it more difficult.
Okay, and there's a first summer school just for women on digital health provided by Universität Göttingen next year, and I think this is one first step towards having more visibility of women here in this field. And I know that in the US there are many universities who provide studies on health IT just for nurses or therapists, and in Germany it's much more like having technicians who are doing the medical informatics university degrees. And I think in Germany we are much more technical driven here towards digital health than the US is or Australia is. What do you think? Is this a difference? There are much more nurses involved, for example, in America?
Certainly they are. Yeah, they're a big part also of the Women in Health IT movement.
Yeah? Okay. And
to your point,
yeah?
I think in order to integrate a global community, what we have found as well is the language barrier. For example, there is a Women in Health IT in Italy or perhaps in Germany, but you can only engage women at a global level who are fluent in the common language. And that's normally not the level of the nurses and the physicians. That's why the local approach is pivotal in driving the change.
Okay, so we need more master programs, in my opinion, in English, and more to attract more other kind of people than just technicians, in my opinion. So the next question is about products. What do you think? Do we need gender-neutral products, or do we need products in the digital health field and apps for like women, or do we these femtech products? I know there is a large movement, but I don't think that we really got into it right now here in this at Medica.
Well, Medica, I won't comment on yet because I haven't had the time to do all of the different halls and look for everything and everyone. But I'd counter that a little bit because, I mean, one of the better known and successful femtech startups, yeah, it is from Germany, is in Germany, and I mean, Ida Tinn coined the term femtech, so the founder of Clue, based in Berlin. There are lots of other startups, also more established companies around either women's topics or women's health topics that are either generating traction or going off the ground. And I think the investment in femtech is, about 400 million to date this year and rising, which to me personally, I mean, it's testament to the fact that it's actually being recognized. I mean, women are not a niche market, yeah? And there are a lot of demands that, women have generally or specifically also related to their health, and that digital health solution can help cater to. The question now is, how do we encourage more women entrepreneurs to actually dare making the jump? And I think that's something where, ventures such as Fraunhofer Ventures and also other accelerators such as our own Grants for Apps accelerators can really help. Again, important that women know of these possibilities and that they're also provided in ways which women can then realize, because I was thinking if I myself, had this great idea to realize, it wouldn't be so easy to just say, okay, now I'm, applying for this one fund and then hopefully, getting funding, and I have to, leave my own space and go somewhere else for 3 months to work on it. So we need to think a little bit about what are good approaches, to also encourage women entrepreneurs from a more systematic and societal way. And I think, again, digital can help a lot in that, in allowing for more virtual meetings and allowing for more networked approaches. And we see that because I specifically work on telemedicine, this is something for women physicians and women healthcare providers is particularly interesting because it allows them, and it's a fact that a lot of them are maybe from themselves less, or want to be less flexible because they want to do more other things than men. I know I'm speaking very black and white, but this is why they jump onto it maybe even easier and maybe even more enthusiastically than the men. At least that was the observation that we had, that this is something that may help further women in healthcare jobs a lot more than the non-digital approach allows. So to me, again, means we need to do more in that space. Do you want to?
Yeah, I can just totally agree to this. I think like one of our speakers during the hackathon put it really in a nice way. She said, Sabine Oertelt said, we have done research on this whole health topic, and we assume that it's this Galileo figure, and now that we have realized that women are working differently, let's just put a bikini on this naked man and pretend it's basically the same person. And I think what we've realized that like modern medicine is not really adjusted to women, it's not really adjusted to their cycles and so on. So it's not just the next buzz or something, it's really something that is crucial. And as I said, I mean, we are shooting people to the moon, but we still haven't figured out, personalized medicine for 50% of the population. So yeah, it's kind of high time.
One question to the audience. Is here somebody who has special products for women within the company, or no? Yeah? Perhaps somebody can help me and...
My name is Wout van Noldwegen. I work in a tech company that makes apps, and we have one particular app in development which helps women become pregnant if they have trouble with it. So it's sort of tracking. It's called if translated from Dutch, it's called smart pregnancy. It's especially and in the end, it's to prevent women going into the IVF treatment pipeline, and before that, it has to do with food, your cycle, etc., etc. So that's it.
Sounds very good. Thank you. Anybody else? Products for women? Does anybody know the FIRE community from HL7? Like these are interoperability standards, and within this community, this is a quite new community. We have a huge network, and there are many, many young women who are working here. We had this session yesterday, and who meet each other right now in Amsterdam. But they have all they also have all these presentations online, so you don't have to attend these meetings, but you have a platform where you can discuss these new standards, and so women really get involved into this huge worldwide community of making HL7 standards. And so this standards community is very, very lively, and I like it very much to be a part of it. And I like to invite those who don't know it to go to these meetings or just to see some presentations on YouTube. That's another, I think you mentioned it, another way to deal with digital health. To have more women involved, either even in telemedicine or education, and or if you know Udacity, so you can learn from home and have your little baby beside you or something.
Yeah, and also not to wait again. I mean, digital is giving us so many possibilities to connect. Yeah, in all kinds of different ways within organizations and outside of organizations. Another example from my field of work is that in women's healthcare, we like to, and we still do, a lot of market research studies on what we should be doing, what we should be doing better, how to improve products and services. And it's only very recently that we started actually tapping into our own communities and saying, I mean, there are so many women who work at Bayer. They're not only Bayer employees, they're also women, period. Yeah. So, I mean, we could ask them and actually build up our own community of people who either, at certain points in time or generally want to become ambassadors and recommenders and just, people we can talk to and connect with who connect us to others. And that's something that's very easily set up, with just, you can start with an email group or a WhatsApp group or a Teams group or a Slack group or whatever, your organization has or whatever you want to have. And that's just something where digital really helps also women connect on their topics and then bring it further. So don't wait. Yeah.
I would like to add to your question where you said, are there any programs female entrepreneurships could apply to? And we have a program which is called Scale, and it is part of our Next Level initiative where we support startups. And so far we had mixed startup groups, and in the UK, in London, we started a female scale program in health. And we were wondering if actually people would sign up, and we were overwhelmed with all the application, and it was really a successful run. So we as PwC, we have master classes for 8 weeks, and we support all those startups in building up and scaling, as it says, it's an accelerator program. And they were chosen out of a huge bunch of startups, only 10 of them, and now they are looking for venture capital, they are looking for corporations, and this is something we can all support in our companies. We can build up programs like that and support the female digital entrepreneurship with just our knowledge, basically.
And encourage, yeah? I mean, the one thing that really stuck out, I think, also in your statistics was that women of all hierarchies said that they don't feel recognized and encouraged. And I don't want to downplay the financial sides, yeah, and the hierarchical sides of it, because that's also important. We shouldn't compensate that, yeah, with nice words. But it's a good start, and it's equally important to just make sure that we promote internally and externally also the ones in the lower levels of the hierarchies and the ones bringing things forward. So create as many use cases as we possibly can on women moving things forward. Yeah? So I think it's great, and you should probably, every day or every week, have one of these examples on the Twitter accounts, etc., so that we can share them and encourage others to do the same.
And even in the EU, they have a program that is called Horizon 2020, and you can only apply for this program if you have women's scientific people that are female. So I think this is the right way to go. But beside that, we have, in Germany, we have programs for digital health as well. For instance, the BMBF initiative, Medical Informatics Initiative, and they didn't even look at the applications if there are any women involved. So right now there's a leadership, like the first and second and even third how to call it, leadership level are men. So we have now an initiative with 150 million euros here in Germany to connect all 150 universities with a complete male leadership, and I don't think that is the right way to do it, even if the EU is like having these So what about America? How do they deal with these programs? I know that there's a national coordinator of health in America, and I would like to have somebody like this here too. But is this a woman or is this a male? A man?
So I'm not really, I'm representing an American organization in Europe. I do engage a lot with Women in Health IT, where we have a lot of C-level executives, not only from, if you can see from my slides, the head of the defense agency in Europe is women. So it's something that we do not, we see a lot more participation perhaps in women, and as I said, it's perhaps that difference that you outlined, speaking, whether you speak the technology side language, or you speak more the organizational aspect, if you see things through the lenses of the organization and your role in the organization. One aspect that I didn't outline in my statistics, there is a wage gap that is expanding between men and women, but it is even expanded further if women come from minority backgrounds. So, and even further, if up the level when women are promoted, there's even a wider gap between men and women. So that's something that it's happening in the US. Perhaps not as we haven't done such an extensive study in Europe, but we should look at perhaps it's not the same case here, considering also how certain communities, of course Europe is very diverse, we cannot generalize. However, for Germany in particular, there's so much more room to have a say, and we as HIMSS, through both the DACH community, so the German-speaking community, through our German partners and organizations, and through the entire ecosystem, would really try to promote. We have also German-speaking media that we send out newsletters to our readership that would really make sure that it's apparent and that those certification programs, leadership awards and nominations, media interviews and exchanges through the membership, we enable them and we make sure that the change is happening.
What about Fraunhofer? Projects? Projects at Fraunhofer? Institutions?
Currently, I think like I don't know about so many projects at Fraunhofer. There are some that are aiming at helping women, but I think there are not so extensive, or they should be improved. Yeah, there's not so much. I wish there would be more, but referring to what you just said, I think there's a structural problem that, of course, we're talking about health sector, but just yesterday I read a article from Zeit Online that showed how women are also underrepresented in the ministries, although there may be 50% of the ministry consists of women, but only just 10% or even 5% are leadership positions. And maybe it's true that women are sometimes too hesitant and so on, but if there is the same pattern in very different industries, then there's some kind of structural problem that we have to address. And I would be very careful to say women should engage more. Yes, this is one part of the story, but on the other side, I think some structural problem is existent that we also have to address. And I'm not sure if we can just address it by networking and specifically targeting women for some events and so on. Yeah.
That's actually a really good point. I didn't mention it before, but I'm the co-owner of a C-level network which is called Women and Healthcare. And we launched about 3 years ago. And what we do is we bring together C-level female leaders twice a year and create a safe environment where we talk about topics like bots, robots, artificial intelligence. That's going to be on the agenda end of November. We already had sessions on cybersecurity, we had on data analytics, and these are the things where it is all about knowledge. And I agree, it's not, the network part is important, but not the most important thing, and it's all about being knowledgeable, being expert in the area you talk about, and having this protected, secured afternoon where you can ask your questions, and they may sound stupid to other people, but they are in fact not. And this is really helpful to bring them all together, payer, provider, producer, biotech, medtech, so everyone, so they can share their questions and learn from each other.
Okay, thank you. So, are there any other questions from the audience on this topic to our experts here? Yeah, please.
Yeah, I have a question. I mean, I've heard a lot of talk about how to change sort of the culture within organizations through women. But what I didn't hear is why don't you start with girls? For example, I work at a tech company. I hardly see any women being coders. And that sort of induces what is sometimes called the bro culture. And I think you have to start at the bottom to say, okay, let's interest 15, 16-year-old girls for these particular types of things. One of the things quite encouraging is the statistic of the female med students. I used to work at the Amsterdam University Hospital. The vast majority of med students and residents are female. So the balance in the world of physician will tip in the coming generation. But what would you, do you have an idea about that? How to sort of get women or girls or even involved in an earlier stage, because after college things are settled in. At sea level, things are already hardwired. It's sort of an uphill battle then.
Yeah, I think the generational change is a huge player that really is a momentum that we should take advantage of. I see in the audience actually a representative from our committee, from the Italian community, and I believe he's very much familiar with a community-driven program that the committee of the community started together with the University Cattolica of Roma, that there needs to be a bridge that connects health IT and medical students. So there is a program in health information systems and how to govern healthcare information systems. Primarily, and most of the faculty is that sits on the program is women, and we have 50% of the students that are women as well. So these are postgraduates, so it's not really as early as teenage high schoolers. However, it's something that as a community we have seen as a need, and something that we would as a model try to replicate in other communities as well. So Germany can be one of the next ones, why not?
Okay, so our last question to all of you is what do you think, is digital health feminine then?
Well, I think it's as much feminine as it is masculine. It's digital health, it's health, yeah? Which is exactly the way it should be. But since, I mean, digital health goes feminine as the overriding topic and objective of the discussion, I think we have a lot of new possibilities and possibilities to bring things forward, which will help reaching women better, both on the receiving and on the giving end of digital health. And that's really something that is made easier by the digital aspects and by the structures that are now in place, whether they are within a company, giving women the possibility, like myself, to be intrapreneurs, or accelerators for women entrepreneurs, or also just, girls' days or, outreach programs to encourage girls and women to get into meaningful and responsible positions earlier. And all of that is kind of like supported, by digital. It's not only digital, but it's supported by digital. So in that respect, yes, it's going feminine.
I would agree to that. I think like advances in medicine have so far been, let's say, gender neutral or more like focused on men. And now I think with digital, we have the opportunity to also put like the female aspect inside. So hopefully 50-50.
Well, I think we are not there yet, but I have to completely agree that all the digital tools are empowering women to work differently. So you can work remotely, you can work from home, wherever you are. So these are some aspects. Besides the digital health, it's just being in a digital world helps you to get there someday.
So, according to me, digital health is a marriage between the traditionally male industry, so you have the IT and the technology side, and the medical, that more or less we can say, especially in the nurses end, is much more represented by women. So, as such, we are getting there. So if I see pictures from community gatherings 2 years, 3 years ago, and nowadays, there's a lot more diversity, not only men, women, but also gender, generation-wise. So you see a lot more involvement, especially now that we have had incorporated How 2.0 under HIMSS, a lot more entrepreneurs, a lot more young researchers that are coming on board. And we can only create change, we can only deliver innovation if we bring the ecosystem together, if we really bring everyone that has the same industry under the same umbrella, and as HIMSS as an organization will really try to deliver that at all levels.
Okay, thank you to all of you. Thank you to the audience, and hopefully see you next year.